Greetings, my warriors of death. Now that I have your attention, this video is going to be just very short reviews of different books, DVDs, videos related to self-defense, fighting with blades, with knives, and with empty hands, etc. And I have a few items here just for the ambiance, just to get you in the mood of street fighting and self-defense. You know, this is some of the crap that people have out there in the real world, just for you, man. Or maybe you have some of this as a little surprise for the bad guy, huh? Anyway, one of the questions I most often receive, because I've posted many of my knife arts, knife usage demos for all of you, people say, how did you learn all that stuff? Where did you learn that? How can I, you know, what can I buy? And you know, I don't want to disappoint you, but I'm going to tell you what you already know. And that's that, you know, no one can truly learn knife combat or barehanded combat only from a book or video. There is stuff that can help you, you know? I mean, my feeling on a book or DVD, if there's only, say, one useful move or technique or idea in the entire book or the entire movie, and I end up using that one technique to maybe save my life, could be 20 years from now, I feel like, well, I definitely got my money's worth, okay? So here's some stuff that will be of interest to you. Well, let's start with the books. First of all, the SAS Jem Collins Pocket Survival Guide. This goes for $9. It teaches you everything about how to find water, how to make fire, how to navigate, how to signal for help. And it's small enough that if you could actually bring this in a backpack, a survival kit, or if you have a relative who just refuses to study this stuff, well, you could just stick this in their suitcase and at least they'll have half a chance, all right? Now this single best book I've ever found on knife usage, okay? The Logic of Steel. This is written by a guy who, just like most of my subscribers, he's just a blue-collar worker and just a regular guy, but he happens to live in one of the worst areas of Baltimore that you could imagine. You know, this book is going to make you never want to go to Baltimore, I'll tell you that, because what he's done, you know, he's had an interest in fighting arts and weapons, just like, like me and many of you. He's taken hundreds of different knife incidents. He's interviewed people in person, witnesses, police, first-hand witnesses, even some of the people involved. He's interviewed those people and he's cataloged all these real knife incidents, and he's divided this into different chapters, and he makes certain key points about knife fighting or knife incidents, and he has the real stories, the first-hand accounts that demonstrate the harsh realities. You know, some of the things you can learn from this book is that your average blade encounter lasts from about 4 to 5 seconds, okay? And he even goes into the types of knives in his area, the blacks, the Latinos, even some Indians. They all use different types of knives, and even between male and females of the same race, there were different types of knives being used. Alright, so this is a great book. I gave this book to, or I recommended it to a friend who's been in many confrontations and who has even, he actually had a knife pulled on him, and he managed to jam the draw of the knife, and he used a jiu-jitsu move to basically slam the guy against the wall. And to make a long story short, the guy who pulled the knife almost ended up stabbing himself. And he was so scared, he basically said, "You almost killed me!" And needless to say, he immediately stopped fighting. And, you know, he was lucky. But my friend, who's, you know, was in an actual knife encounter, read this book, and he said it's the most realistic book he's read because he's been in many of the situations or the same type that are cataloged in this book. There's so much detail in the accounts that it's not the kind of stuff that someone could make up, because you wouldn't even think of these tiny details. Okay, great book there. It's not going to teach you step by step, move by move, but it's going to give you the feel of how it actually goes down, brother. Right, and here we have Meditations on Violence. This isn't like a super book, but it is interesting. It's written by a veteran law enforcement officer, a corrections officer. He's been involved in 5 or 6 different blade incidents personally. These are what happened to him. And he also does martial arts, so between being a corrections officer and his real-world experience, you know, you should listen to some of the stuff he says. And just for an example, you know, you always hear, if you're in a knife fight, you will get cut. Well, in this book, this corrections officer, he goes over like 5 different incidents with blades that he's been involved in, and he's never been cut. So, either he's lucky, he's smart, or both. But either way, this will give you some good feel. You know, again, it's not a textbook. It's to feel what it's like to go against a blade or with a blade. And this is not for kids, by the way. He gets into some extremely grotesque things that he has seen criminals do to innocent people, explaining why you need to fight and fight to win, because they will show you no mercy. All right, and real quick, just some movies, which these are entertainment movies, but you can get something out of them. First is called By the Sword. This movie is it's almost like The Karate Kid, but it's about fencing. And, you know, you might think of fencing as just this hoity-toity thing, but actually, you know, you would never want to fight a fencing master, okay? And this shows kind of like a more hardcore side of it, but it's also a pretty good movie, too, as far as just a drama. There's a couple storylines going on, and it's on the backdrop of these guys are trying to train to be champion fencers. And it's pretty cool. You know, it's one of the few movies that's basically about fighting with blades. So, hey, why not? And this movie here, many people know about this already. Exposure. It's also called The Grand Art or The High Art. But this is a movie, it's a very dark movie about a reporter down in South America. One of his friends is killed, and he gets knifed. And he basically sets out to train in knife combat to seek revenge. And it's not, of course, it's not completely realistic. I mean, it is a movie, but there are some realistic scenes. When he's training in the mirror, he does the 8 different angles of slashing attack, and that's a real training method, okay? And there are some clips on this already on YouTube. It's a pretty cool movie. It's just very dark, and it will really give you a feel of that fighting with a blade is not some sort of glorious endeavor that's cool, okay? It's dark and nasty, and people get stuck in the guts and bleed all over. So that's a cool little movie. The movie's actually pretty hard to find. I had to pay around 20-something to get this, but I think it's worth it, and you know, the value's only going to go up. All right, now what is this? Hannibal Rising, the young Hannibal Lecter movie. Now, why would I recommend this? You know, what I really got to tell you is that there's only so far you can go with just basic, self-defense. If then, like, if he throws a haymaker, what block should I do? Okay, that basic type stuff that you might see on simple self-defense videos, that's not worth anything if you don't have the right mindset. Okay, and many people might disagree with me about the right mindset for self-defense, but me personally, you need to be the sickest, nastiest, dirtiest fighting, most ruthless motherfucker in the world. Especially if there's a knife involved, if you want to come home alive, if you don't want your wife to be a widow and your kids to be orphans, you need to be able to transform into fucking darkness, okay? We're talking like, Darth Vader, Hannibal Lecter. I mean, these are characters, but still, you understand, you might be a nice guy, a nice, hard-working, wholesome guy, but if you're fighting for your life, you want to be cunning, evil, ruthless, freaking genius, okay? He's a killing machine. People mess with him, and he messes back. And, this is a great movie because it's evil people meeting a far greater evil than themselves. And, what can I say? Justice is done, but a monster is born. People ask, what's the best self-defense tape? I usually say, this movie is, because if you can think like this character, then you'll do the right thing,